Hare Krishna. Welcome you all on our 90 episode book reading challenge. So today we are going to read two episodes or the two chapters from Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto. Uh, so let's start. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Satarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prem Pradayati Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gaurati Seva Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So Hare Krishna, thank you all for joining. Let's read the first episode. The chapter 1, it says the advent of Lord Krishna or introduction. So we are going to read actually the chapter summary given by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada is the founder Acharya of ISKCON, well known as Hare Krishna movement. So let's read that out. The summary of the first chapter is as follows. The chapter describes how Kansa, frightened by hearing an omen about his being killed by the eighth son of Devaki's, killed Devaki's sons one after another. When Sukadeva Goswami finished describing the dynasty of Yadu, as well as the dynasties of moon god and sun god, Maharaj Parikshit requested him to describe Lord Krishna, who appeared with Baladeva in the Yadu dynasty, and how Krishna performed his activities within this world. Krishna is transcendental, the king said, and therefore to understand his activities is the occupation of liberated persons. Hearing of Krishna Leela is the boat by which to achieve the ultimate goal of life, except for an animal killer or one who is following a policy of suicide. Every intelligent person must strive to understand Krishna and his activities. Krishna was the only worshipable deity of the Pandavas. When Maharaj Parikshit was in the womb of his mother Uttara, Krishna saved him from the attack of Brahmastra. Now Maharaj Parikshit was asked Sukadeva Goswami how his Lord Sri Baladeva, the son of Rohini, could have appeared in the womb of Devaki. Why did Krishna transfer himself from the Mathura to Vrindavana? And King Parikshit asked, why did he live there with his family members? What did Krishna do in Mathura and Vrindavana? And why did he kill his material uncle Kansa? For how many years did Krishna reside in Dwarka? And how many queens did he have? Maharaj Parikshit asked Sukadeva Goswami all these questions. He also requested Sukadeva Goswami to describe other activities of Krishna which he could not inquire. When Sukadeva Goswami began to speak about Krishna consciousness, Maharaj Parikshit forgot the fatigue by his fasting. Enthusiastic to describe Krishna, Sukadeva Goswami said, like the water of the Ganges, descriptions of the activities of Krishna can purify the entire universe. The speaker, the enquirer, and the audience all become purified. Once when the entire world was overburdened by the increasing military power of demons in the form of kings, Mother Earth assumed the shape of a cow and approached Lord Brahma for relief. Sympathetic to Mother Earth's lamentation, Brahma, accompanied by Lord Shiva and other demigods, took the cow-shaped Mother Earth to the shore of the Milk Ocean, where he offered prayers to please Lord Vishnu, who lay there on an island in transcendental ecstasy. Brahma therefore understood the advice of Mahavishnu, who informed him that he would appear on the surface of the earth to mitigate the burdens created by the demons. The demons, along with their wives, should appear there as associates of Lord Krishna in the family of Yadu to increase the sons and grandsons in the dynasty. By the will of Lord Krishna, Anantadeva would appear first as Balarama, and Krishna's potencies, Yogamaya would appear also. Brahma informed Mother Earth about all this and then he returned to his own abode. After marrying Devaki, Vasudeva was returning home with her on a chariot driven by Kansa. Her brother, when an when an ominous voice addressed Kamsa, warning him that Devaki's eighth son would kill him. Upon hearing this omen, Kamsa was immediately ready to kill Devaki. But Vasudeva diplomatically began to instruct him. Vasudeva stressed that it would not be good for Kamsa to kill his younger sister, especially at the time of her marriage. Anyone who possesses a material body must die, Vasudeva advised him. Every living entity lives in a body for some time and then transmigrates to another body, but one is unfortunately misled into accepting the body as the soul. If a person under this mistaken conception wants to kill another body, he is condemned as hellish. Because Kansa was not satisfied by Vasudeva's instructions, Vasudeva devised a plan. He offered to bring Kansa to all the Devaki's children so that Kamsa could kill them. Why then should Kamsa kill Devaki now? Kamsa was satisfied by this proposal. In due course of time, when Devaki gave birth to a child, Vasudeva brought the newborn baby to Kamsa, who, upon seeing Vasudeva's magnanimity, was struck with wonder. When Vasudeva gave Kansa the child, Kansa, showing some intelligence, said that since he was to be killed by the eighth child, why should he kill the first one? Although Vasudeva did not trust him, Kansa requested Vasudeva to take the child back. Later, however, after Narada approached Kansa and disclosed to him that the demigods were appearing in the Yadu and Vishnu dynasties and conspiring to kill him, Kansa decided to kill all children born in these families, and he also decided that any child born from the womb of Devaki must be killed. Thus he addressed and imprisoned both Devaki and Vasudeva and killed 6 of their sons, one after another. Narada had also informed Kansa that in his previous birth, Kansa was Kalnemi, a demon killed by Vishnu. Consequently, Kamsa became a very great enemy to all the descendants of Yadu Vamsas, the Yadu dynasty. He even arrested and imprisoned his own father, Ugrasen, for Kamsa wanted to enjoy the kingdom alone. Krishna has threefold pastime: the Brajalila, Mathura Lila, and Dwarika Lila. As already mentioned in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there are 90 chapters which describe all these Leelas. The first 4 chapters describes Brahma's prayer for the relief of the earth's burden, and they also describe the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Chapter 5 through 39 recounts Krishna's pastime in Vrindavan. The 40th chapter describes how Krishna enjoyed in the water of the Yamuna and how Akrura offered prayers. Chapter 41 through 51, 11 chapters tell of Krishna's pastimes in Mathura, and chapters 52 through 90, that is 39 chapters, relates Krishna's pastimes in Dwarika. So chapter 29 through 33 describes Krishna's dancing with the gopis, known as the Rasa Leela. Therefore, these 5 chapters are also known as Rasa Pancha Adhyaya. The 47th chapter of the 10th canto is a description known as the Brahmara Gita. So in this way, we actually finished the first episode, and thanks you all for being with me. And we're going to start the chapter 2 or episode 2 that says as prayers by the demigods for Lord Krishna in the womb of Mother Devaki. So as described in this chapter, when the Supreme Personality of God had entered the womb of Devaki to kill Kansa, all the demigods understood that Lord was living within Devaki's womb, and therefore in veneration they offered him the Garbhastuti prayers. Kansa, under the protection of his father-in-law Jarasandha, and with the help of his demonic friends like Pralamba, Baka, Chanur, Tanavarta, Aghasur, Mustika, Bana, and Bhomasura began oppressing the members of Yudhi dynasty. Therefore, the members of the Yodhi dynasty left their homes and sought shelter in such states such as Kuru, Panchala, Kekeya, Salva, and Vidarbha. Only some of them stayed with Kansa as nominal friends. After Kansa killed the Sadgaravas, the sixth son of Devakis, one after another, Anantadeva entered into Devaki's womb and was transferred to the womb of Rohini by the manipulation of Yogamaya, who was following the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord Himself, who was soon to appear as the eighth son of Devaki, ordered Yogamaya to take birth from the womb of Mother Yashoda Devi. Because Krishna and his potency Yogamaya appeared simultaneously as brother and sister, the world is full of Vaishnavas and Shaktas. And there is certainly some rivalry between them. Vaishnava worship the Supreme Lord, whereas Shaktis or Shaktas, according to their desires, worship Yogamaya in the form of Durga, Bhadrakali, and Chandika. Following the orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Yogamaya transferred Baladeva, Sankarshan, and the seventh child of Devaki from the womb of Devaki to the womb of Rohini. Because Sankarsana appears in order to increase the love of Krishna, he is also known as Baladeva. One may take auspicious strength from him to become a devotee of Lord, and therefore he is also known as Balabhadra. We know very well that Lord Jagannath, Baladev and Subhadra are the same. Balabhadra, Subhadra, and these are Krishna, Balaram and Subhadra Devi. So after Yogamaya transferred the seventh child of the Devaki to the womb of Rohini, the Supreme Personality of God had appeared within the heart of Vasudeva and transferred himself into the heart of Devaki. Because the Lord was present in her heart, Devaki, as her pregnancy continued, appeared effulgent. Upon seeing this effulgence, Kansa was full of anxiety, but he could not harm Devaki because of their family relationship. Thus he began indirectly thinking of Krishna and becoming fully Krishna consciousness. Meanwhile, because of the Lord's presence within the womb of Devaki, all the demigods came to offer the Lord their prayers. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, they said, is eternally the absolute truth. The spiritual soul is more important than the gross body, and the super soul Paramatma is still more important than the soul. The Supreme Godhead is absolutely independent and his incarnations are transcendental. The prayers of the demigod glorify and exalt devotees and explain the fate of a person who superficially consider themselves liberated from the conditions of material nature. A devotee is always safe. When a devotee fully surrenders at the lotus feet of Lord, he is completely liberated from the fear of material existence. By explaining why the Supreme Personality of Godhead is descendants, the prayers of the demigods clearly confirm the Lord's statements in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, verse number 7. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuthamanam adharmasya tadatmanam srajamyaham. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharata, and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself. So this is how we actually finished chapter 2, prayers by the demigod for Lord Krishna in the womb of Mother Devaki. So now we understand that Krishna has appeared inside the womb of Mother Devaki through the mind or heart of the Vasudeva. So thank you very much for being with me, and if you have any questions, you can put down as a comment. I'll try to answer those in my in next sessions. And I would request, if you like the videos and the content written by Srila Prabhupada, so please do like, share and subscribe the channels to get more and more of this. So as I told earlier, the mood is to read through all 90 chapters before Janmashtami. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.